Hello everyone, I'm Havoc and this is Minecraft All the Mods 6. We are back. It has been a while. If you watch my update channel, you probably know I have had a child recently. My son is healthy and wonderful, and we are getting adjusted to having a small baby at the house again. I'm trying to get a little content in when I can, which is what today's episode is. We are looking at what have I done without you guys. So don't mind this. I had to make quite a good number of seeds. Oh, not what I meant to do there. There we go. Turn the engine off for my jetpack. That way I'm not hovering around, flying around everywhere. But I had to make a lot of seeds, and I have a little farming area up here in the sky, and I have don't have hover mode on. I have a lot of gold seeds growing over here because our resident server bee farmer needs a lot of gold. And so I am trying to help her out with growing the gold. So it's gold seeds becomes gold essence. The essence is collected, it's dumped into this system, and then from there I pull the essence out, automatically craft it into golden ingots, and dump that into the system. That way when she needs it, she can just come by and snag a load of gold out of there. The reason she needs so much gold is the centrifuge for her takes compressed 4 times gold, which is crazy. And then we got to move into diamonds. But right now we're working on the gold. And this is a lot of gold. An absolute ton. It's a few 100,000 gold. I don't remember exactly. But we've got that going up here, as well as our essences. A few other things. This is golden orchid seeds and arcane gold. And I have those running for something. I don't remember, but that's okay. I have another exciting thing to show you, and that is that we have 5 times ore processing, and that's probably going to be the title of this video because it'll get some clicks. Alright, so looking at this, if you put something in here in the chemical dissolution chamber, it will start the process to break it down to 5 times. Now, you'll probably be wondering, why in the heck do I have this giant stack of machines that I dug down and built up? And that's because this thing, the chemical crystallizer, is the chokehold. Right now I have it only running into 1, but when you do that, it's slow. And yes, I have put all 8 speed upgrades and all 8 energy upgrades into it, and it's still slow. I promise you, it's quite slow. The reason why I have it only hooked into 1 instead of all of these is that I have yet to figure out a way to evenly distribute the slurry, because when it leaves here, in fact, let me show you guys. Do I have anything crazy that I really want to multiply times 5 in here? It really doesn't matter. Let me just demonstrate. If I throw iron ore into here, I'll throw half a stack in. It becomes this slurry. And the slurry, the dirty iron slurry, is then washed in a chemical washer with water, and it becomes the clean iron slurry. And that clean iron slurry then goes into here. And you remember what I said about this being the choke point? Look, this machine's already full. And what's happening? This pipe right here is filling up with clean iron slurry because this machine is much faster than this machine. Now it's going to start to go down because I only threw half a stack in there, but if I throw the other half in there, you'll see it just starts shooting up 20,000, 22,000, 24,000, and it just keeps going. And that's because this thing, even with its upgrades, is not as fast as the other machines, and it's not as fast as the machines that follow it either, because they are factories. You know what? I think it's been a little while, but I do think I already tried throwing an installer on here. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. You cannot upgrade this to a factory. It only runs this one process. And yes, I have speed in here, but it's not that fast. And I found that if you tack a bunch more of these on here and let it go, this can keep up. Actually, this is a little bit faster, which is kind of what I wanted. I didn't want this to be the choke point. I essentially wanted this to be the choke point. The bottleneck is the very beginning of the process. But we have an issue. When it goes into here, you'll get 88 millibuckets in this machine and 72 in here and 21 in this one and whatever random. And it's not a big problem when you're processing a chest full. When you're processing this much of a resource, it just runs through it and it's not a big deal. And when you get to the end, there's tiny bits left over, and you take this little dropper gauge, pick it up, and you left click in here and you pick it all up. And once you've picked it all up, you can then put it in the little plus sign and it'll process in whatever machine you choose to dump the rest of that in. But you have to manually get involved. Now, that's the issue that I have with the setup, and that's why we have a big deal here. But let me go over this, because the last time we were looking at it, I do believe I only had 3 times processing, and that starts here with the purification chamber, and that uses oxygen. And y'all remember we were processing our oxygen right down here, but I've got a whole different setup, because to get to 5 times ore processing, it's not easy. So you probably see right here I have hydrogen chloride dumping into the injecting factory, and then I don't think there's anything dumping into these, but you probably noticed here I have sulfuric acid going into our dissolution chamber, which turns it into the dirty slurry. The dirty slurry is washed with water. And let me show you how we come by all of these different materials. So over here, I realized that you can make these dynamic tanks from Mechanism, which are amazing. I love Mechanism. It's such a good mod, and they have an answer to everything. I was trying to figure out how to come up with a good storage system for water, for fluids and gases, and these dynamic tanks are great. This one right here is holding 2,880,000 millibuckets. That's 2,880 buckets in this structure, and it's water. And then I have coming out of the back a quantum entanguloporter that is receiving that water, and right over here, that water, I need to turn my hover back on. I'm going to drive you guys crazy, flittering around like crazy. Why is there a chicken in the water? Okay. The water is going into a thermal evaporation plant, which is then making nothing right now for some reason. Hold on a minute here. Are we full on the back end? We're not full. We have an issue. We have an issue. This should be processing brine. And then that brine is going into... Oh, you know what? I bet I'm using it as fast as I'm making it, probably. Because right over here, we're collecting that brine and moving it to this location. And yep, I'm using it as fast as I'm making it. So that's why it's not broken. I'm just consuming it as fast as I make it right now. So we have water in this one. I use water in a couple other places you saw where it's being washed. All of my water comes from this sink. And it is then stored here or processed further down the line and used in other areas. But every bit of the water that I use around my base comes from a single sink. It's wonderful. Over here, next to this, we have brine. Oh, and I have lots of it. Okay, good. The only issue that I have with this is the way that I set this up is not the best. So what am I making? Good grief, I'm so fast. Chlorine, right? I'm making chlorine from the brine, and then using that chlorine and hydrogen, I am making hydrogen chloride, which I'm also consuming. That hydrogen chloride is stored in this tank, and it is one of the chemicals I'm using over there. So I just realized when I set this all up, this machine should be running off of the output of this tank, so it can make use of the 2,880 buckets of brine that I have stored, and not just what I'm producing at this moment. Slight issue, and I will figure out something for that in a short moment. But what I have outside of the brine is I have hydrogen and oxygen, and y'all remember that comes from electrolytic separators, that is taking water coming from our sink and separating that into oxygen and into our hydrogen. Now I'm using the hydrogen rapidly, which is why I don't have a buildup of the hydrogen on this side, but I have it set to dumping excess. And I think I need to dump excess oxygen, honestly. The only issue I have with that is that's going to make this thing run kind of constantly. I might need to look for a better loop in the system here. But that will get me producing hydrogen again. Oh yeah, it's ramping right on up. But like I said, the only issue I'm going to run into, if we're dumping both of them, it never stops producing either one of them, and it will constantly run and just dump the extra of whichever one we have. And that's a constant power drain, and that is also a constant drain of water. The water's not a big deal because we have a whole lot of that water for free from our sink right down there. It's more so the power drain, which, to be honest with you, I have a very nice power setup. You probably noticed this wonderful solar cell. This is a solar panel setup from Enviro Energy and Enviro Core. It's from Environmental Tech. And I have it upgraded to make me lots of power. So I don't think I really have to worry about the power use. We'll let it run. But over here is our hydrogen chloride, like we talked about. We're taking brine, and we are also adding to that the hydrogen to make hydrogen chloride. Oh, excuse me, chlorine, which is made from the brine, and then our hydrogen makes the hydrogen chloride. Over here, in this one, it's empty, but it is liquid ethylene. Nope, never mind. Ethylene is what's in here, and we're turning that into liquid ethylene. Ethylene is made right down here. Oh, we've got an issue. As a byproduct, when I'm processing our resources right down here, substrate, and I did not have this locked, and that's the issue. So, oh boy, this is supposed to hold the substrate, not the biofuel, which I was making. And that's why this messed up. I'm just figuring out I have made errors all over the place. Alright, but we need the key, because what I'm going to have to do is break this. Oh, no, that's right. It no longer does the fancy thing where it drops the items. Oh, boy. There's four. There's a few items in here. Just 459,000. I don't think that I'm going to get that emptied out. We're just going to swap probably this one, which has a lot less. How many does this one have? Oh, let me just go ahead and say a lot less is not as a lot less as it seems. So we need a drawer, an empty drawer. We're going to put it down, throw substrate in it, and this time we're going to be smart and we're going to lock it. And then we drop that. And that should make this start processing again. Sure, I'm glad that I checked on some things. Now, this substrate makes HDPE pellets using liquid ethylene, and HDPE pellets are used to make all kinds of really awesome items. But this is our little setup going over here making our ethylene. Now, down here, this is empty. If you're wondering why mobs are ignoring me, I have Shadow Step 8 on my armor, which makes me near invisible. I have to pretty much hug a mob for them to be able to see me. It's quite nice and makes not being bothered by them much easier. So these chemicals over here and this setup is what operates my other machines. Primarily, let's see, we're going to want, I think this one is the sulfuric acid. Yes, this is the sulfuric acid. And this process is an interesting one. So, you put coal into this machine, the pressurized reaction chamber, and that coal will then become sulfur, right here, sulfur dust from mechanism. And this machine takes oxygen and water and it produces hydrogen, which I have going into here, and it's dumping the excess. Rather than trying to fill up the hydrogen back, it stays full. I just said, you know what, let's dump it to make it easy. And then that sulfur dust goes into a chemical oxidizer. The chemical oxidizer, you know what, let's get some coal here so I can show everyone what's going on over here in real time. I'm going to have to start mining again, running out of coal. But that's okay. So here we are processing, we're making the sulfur dust. The sulfur dust comes down and it's making sulfur dioxide. That sulfur dioxide from our chemical oxidizer comes down here with oxygen and the sulfur dioxide. It becomes sulfur trioxide, which it's kind of hard to see because it's blinking in and out. But that sulfur trioxide comes in and combines with water vapor in another chemical infuser and becomes sulfuric acid. It's a long process. Water vapor is really easy. It's water in a rotary condenser that turns it into vapor. All of these things have power running underneath them, and all of the complicated ingredients go into all the different size that it requires. Oh, how can he see me? How interesting. Maybe because I'm flying? Don't know. It's okay. I killed him. So the sulfuric acid is used, as I showed you before, down in our 5 times ore processing setup right here. It's a pain. It really, to be honest with you, it's a lot of setup to get going and to get this thing running. The hydrogen chloride and the sulfuric acid, I absolutely recommend putting gas upgrades in. It makes the machines more efficient at using whatever they use. So I use less sulfuric acid, I use less hydrogen chloride, I use less oxygen, because each of these machines have these gas upgrades in them, which is wonderful. And then once you get down the line, it's nothing really special or different than before. I'll throw these in here and show you again. It goes from iron to dirty iron slurry. The dirty iron slurry is washed, becomes clean iron slurry. The clean iron slurry is crystallized into iron crystals. The iron crystals are injected with hydrogen chloride to become shards. Those shards are then crushed into iron clumps. The clumps are turned into dirty iron dust. The dirty iron dust gets enriched to iron dust, and that iron dust is cooked up into iron ingots. It's a long process, but from one ore, you end up with 5 times the output. Now, when you look in here and you go, well, I've got 39,000, almost 40,000 iron. I think I probably had 39,000 or 40,000 iron before I started taking stuff out. Do you really need to 5 times that? Not really. I mean, also I'm using mining. But in this mod pack, you have stuff like vibranium. And vibranium ore cannot be mined up. you can't use anything. You can't use a void miner. You can't use a digital miner. You cannot use a builder with a quarry shape card in there. There's no way to pick those up by machines. So they have to be mined by hand. And when you're mining those suckers by hand, you absolutely want to get 5 for every ore you mine up, because also it's pretty daggum rare, especially the unobtainium. I mean, vibranium's pretty rare. It only shows up in the roofs of warped forest and crimson forest. But then you have unobtainium. Unobtainium is only found in highlands biomes. Now I'm gonna tell you, I took and mined out I think it was a 400 by 400 area of end highlands, and I think I got like 20 of these, or 30 maybe. It was not a lot. I did absolutely run that through my quintupling setup and take what I got and turn it into 5 times as much, because those are the things that are a big deal. And then I used that to make essence for them, and these essences I use to make the bars. I should have more essence than that in here. What's going on? We're growing. We're growing in there. I should have more essences than that. It's been a little bit since I've been on. I mean, you look at my nether star essence. I've got tons of it. These essences are stored in the what are they called, drawers up there at my little growing area, but these are stored in the system. I should definitely have more than that. I don't know. Oh, I made some into blocks. That's right. Okay, I had already crafted these up. But yes, unobtainium, I have made seeds for them, as you see, and I'm growing them. I have unobtainium, I have all the modium, and I have vibranium. I really should get more unobtainium seeds going. The unobtainium seeds take 4 blocks of unobtainium, and then insanium blocks. Insanium blocks is not a problem for me because of the essences that I have in storage up there, and you probably also saw I've got 164 insanium essence sitting here. It's not a big deal. It's more so the unobtainium itself, but I should probably get another seed going. This is the 5 times quintupling setup. Another thing that I did was upgrading the induction matrix to hold 3.2 billion trillion. I don't even know, what is this? This is trillion, right? Goodness, it's a lot. I can't even begin to explain. I don't even remember what TFE is. I think it's trillion forge energy. But that's not coming from this thing. This thing's been inactive for a while. That's coming from that very, very nice solar panel that I have up here. I want to just take a peek at this. This thing right now is producing 292,000 FE a tick. It's pretty much at the peak of what it produces middle of the day. Just a little past middle of the day, looks like it. Yeah, but it's still getting a ton, because these things are ionite solar cells. That's why this is a monster and produces what it produces. I have not even checked on my void miner down here recently. It's currently at the ionite level. I think the next level up past ionite, let's see, at enviro, yes, is aethium. But if I upgrade to that one, that's a tier 6. I think you have to then put it in the end. Yes. So then once you've upgraded to this one, which I'm currently getting, I should have aethium crystals. I have right here 5,000 of them, aethium crystals in the system. So if I upgrade it to the next tier and I want to start getting nanorite crystals, I'm going to have to build this thing in the end, which isn't a big deal. I mean, I can do that. It's not a game changer or big problem there. But this thing's been running for a while and doing well for me. I don't know why I'm doing this. I can just do this. And I'm back inside my base. I also did some work on making a charm somewhere. Did I throw it in the system? Right here it is. Charm of Vibranium Site. For when I'm out mining this stuff by hand, because the growing them from seeds works, but boy is it slow. And when I say slow, I am not kidding. Absolutely slow. So I do still go out and hand mine with my wonderful mining gadget, Mark III, because we updated the pack, and that mod updated. But the Charm of Vibranium Site is made with 3 potions and 6 blaze powder. And then if you take this and combine it with the Stella, this thing, Eternal Stella, it will then make it indestructible, because normally this would slowly take durability damage and then break. But because I made it indestructible, I can turn this on and I have infinite vibranium site, which is great. Definitely helps. I'm going to do that also for unobtainium as well. And I don't really think all the modium. At this point, I'm growing a significant amount of all the modium essence, and I've got 49 blocks in here, some nuggets and ingots. It's not a big deal. So I'm not as worried about all the modium anymore, but definitely the vibranium and the unobtainium are very, very hard to get your hands on in large quantities. So I will work on getting a charm for that to make hand mining them easier. I do absolutely love the underwater base though. I had an idea. I was going to do these different domes and different little setups while building out here in the water, and I decided instead what I'm going to try and do is build a cylinder, and in the middle I'm going to have my own aquarium, I guess you could call it, my own little ecosystem, which I'm going to try and surround. But I don't want the cylinder to just be a straight cylinder block coming up that looks ugly. I think what I'm going to try and do is make my base all the way around it. That way it's the center focus of the base, and the base is just built in these little rooms that go around it, and it doesn't look horrible. I don't have a huge grand idea for how to look exactly. I'm probably going to try and stick with our industrial concrete sheet metal-ish look and feel for it, and use clear glass because obviously this Minecraft glass looks horrible with every single block showing its corners. But that's just a little heads up on what we're doing there. Anything else that I really did? I can't remember. I think that's kind of it. I'll try and remember anything else to catch you guys up on for the next episode. But that's going to be it for today's episode. If you enjoyed it, feel free to hit that like button. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you all next time.